Welcome everyone to another episode of Pulling Threads. Today we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to leave a life that looked good on paper, a 20-year marriage, a competitive athletic identity, a familiar world, and rebuild from scratch in your 50s. Jen Rulon is a midlife transformation coach, a TEDx speaker, a memoir writer, and a retreat facilitator based in, I hope I say this correctly, Samara.
You got it. Perfect.
All right, Costa Rica. Is that on the western coast of Costa
It
Rica?
is. Yep. Pacific side.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that side of Costa Rica. I've been there twice, so we'll have to talk about that a
Of
little bit.
course.
John, you are a 15-time Ironman finisher, a Kona qualifier, and so much more. We're going to get to all of that, but I just want to say welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming in early this morning, your time.
Right. No, thanks for
I
having me,
appreciate
Leslie.
that.
No, it's
Yeah,
it's it's I think we find each other on Threads?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
loved Threads recently. People are just so supportive. I'm like, what's going on? This is amazing.
It's so good. And I kind of just didn't pay any attention to it. And
Right?
another guest who was on here was like, you really need to be on Threads. And my assistant was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, but yeah, it's so good. And you're right, it's
hmm
so supportive and positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
Good. Well, thanks
yeah,
for having me.
yeah, it's wonderful to have you. I want to talk about all the things you've written books. Obviously, you've done the Ironmans. You did go through a divorce. You're in
Yeah.
Costa Rica, but just to slow things down a little bit,
Yeah.
we'll talk about how you got where you are,
Great.
but I think for most people, hearing the process is really important and sharing how you got from one place to the next.
Agreed.
And if you don't mind, I'd love to just jump into that. You did leave a, what looked like a really great life,
I
it
did.
seems. And you've said before, leaving happens long before you physically go.
Yeah.
And so obviously you, like me, were in a 20-year relationship marriage that you left. And I hear that story a lot. And I definitely had a very similar experience. But what does life unraveling look like? If you want to
Mm,
give a little bit of background, like paint a picture for us of what life looked like
sure.
when you started realizing maybe this isn't what I want forever.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of that backstory so we know
Mm.
what was going on.
On paper, we looked perfect. We were the perfect couple, right? I'm a lawyer. I was my previous job. I worked at SeaWorld, so I was a marine mammal trainer for 15 years. And so I was doing the shows and all that stuff. And then I left that job and started working at Lululemon, started folding stretchy pants. But during that time, I went back and got my master's degree in kinesiology with the emphasis of exercise science. And so he
Mm,
was really good about supporting me and doing all that. After I graduated, the university with my master's, I was looking for jobs left and right. And I had four, four jobs. I was teaching as an adjunct professor at two different schools. I was still coaching triathletes, which is really why I went back to school. So I could, even though I was coaching triathletes, I was doing triathlons. I wanted to know what the body was doing internally, like how I wanted to be that science geek. And
yep.
so I learned a lot about that. And when I kept applying for all these jobs and I kept getting turned down. And I'm like, what is going on? So he and I had a conversation and I was like, I want to start my own business. I want to start jenrulon.com and start working with triathletes more so than what I was because I was coaching people left and right, but I never really built an online presence until
Right.
2013. So I was
Okay.
online before online was cool, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so I started building a business technically for our hobby because we were both triathletes. We were both
Yeah.
going and doing races. We were doing Ironmans, half Ironmans. I was promoting the Rulon racing team. I was promoting myself. I was doing all of that stuff. And I think where a lot of things changed for me is when I started, it was in 2019, and I just looked at some of my notes as of recently. I was doing a lot of speaking events. I had a lot of triathletes, coaches, and companies asking me, how did you build your brand? And I was fearless when it came to social media. I was on every stinking platform that you can imagine, just plugging me, plugging the team, plugging my clients. And people saw me grow and build my brand. So a lot of people were asking me, how did you grow social media? How did you grow your
Right.
brand? And so in 2019, I got paid for multiple speaking engagements. I was asked to go to Hawaii to work for companies with their social media. And I'm not a social media
Wow.
expert, but I was passionate
Right.
about it.
Right.
And
And you did it well.
and I did
Yeah.
it well. And that is where I started seeing maybe a shift between us because I wasn't so focused on us. I was
Mm,
focused on me and building my business.
yeah.
And also that same year, 2019, is a lot of things happened for me. I was being asked to go be a coach at different Ironmans too. So I was traveling all over. It was a very successful year for me if I look at it. But
Yeah.
it was successful, but then things were starting to fall apart, right? I
Yeah.
remember even asking my ex, I said, can we go to therapy? Because there's a disconnect and I could see it because I would ask
Yeah.
him to come with me to all these events. Hey, I got a free hotel. I got this paid. All we have to do is pay for your flight. I got this. And he said, no, I can't. And it got to a point where I stopped asking because
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, here I go again. Come with me. And so
Yeah.
it was in 2019 at Ironman, Florida. I prior to that, in no September, I went to Boulder, Colorado to do an event. And some of y'all might have heard Stacy Sims. Stacy talks a lot
Mhm.
about the menopause, perimenopause women.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she was the keynote speaker. And she said to the room, she said, if you are perimenopause or postmenopause, and you're still doing long, slow distance stuff, stop. You've got to start lifting heavy. And I heard that, that made me click. And I said to myself, 6 weeks from now, this might be my last Ironman because I was post menopause. I
Yeah.
already I went through menopause during the Ironman World Championship, and I didn't know that. It was insane. I was waking up with crazy hot flashes. Anyways, that's another story. But I chalked it up to heavy training, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, long story short, I heard Stacy say that, and I thought this might be my last Ironman. So I got back
Mm,
to San Antonio from Boulder, and I said to myself, I'm like, all right, if this is your last Ironman, you're going to stop drinking for 6 weeks to get prepared for potentially your last race of your Ironman career. Now, remember, I had this dream when I was 17 years old. So this was like a 30-year career of me
wow.
constantly thinking about swimming, biking, running, repeating, right?
Right.
So 6 weeks out, I stopped drinking. And then at Ironman Florida, I was on at mile 2 and I looked out to the ocean and I said, God, I need your help. I have a question for you. I need to ask you of two things. Either one, I crossed the finish line and I qualify for Kona again, and I'm first or second in my age group because at Florida, that was the only way to qualify for Hawaii. Got to be first or second.
Okay.
Or two, I crossed the finish line. I had the best race of my life. Doesn't matter what place I am in, I'm done. So I asked that question and I crossed the finish line and I had the best race of my life. And I come around the corner, I see my mom, my ex mother in law, my ex, and I was like, oh my God, what was my time? And they were like 10:46:47. And I literally had a visualization for for those 6 months, for 6 months almost, that I was going to be at 10:46:23. I pinned it. I pinned it down. And then I was like, what place was I in? They go seventh. I go, I'm done. And
Wow.
they looked at me like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do another Ironman. I'm done. So here we had this life built around Ironman triathlons, but we also had a life built around drinking. And so
Okay.
sometimes I'm floored at how many Ironmans I did with the alcohol that I consumed. And I wouldn't say that I was a drunk, and not at all. I
Yeah.
wasn't on the
Yeah.
floor like struggling. I had
Right.
2 to 3 glasses of wine every night, and then I would go train. And then on weekends,
Your body was just used to that.
body was
So you
used
didn't
to
know what
it.
it felt like to not have
No,
that in your system yet until you trained for that
you got it. Yeah.
event.
And then even that next day, I stayed in a couple extra days in Florida. I'm on the beach. Heck, why not? And I tried to get a pina colada, and I was like, oh, this is disgusting. Yeah, I couldn't do
Oh,
it. I was like, yeah, this isn't serving me anymore. But I still kept drinking because that's what we did. That's what we did.
right.
And then when I realized that I was saying goodbye to something that I've known for 30 years, I said to my ex, I said, I need to go somewhere where there is very little Wi-Fi. I don't want to work. I don't want to be around in the hustle bustle. And he's okay. Do you want to go to Port Aransas, Texas, or whatever? And I'm like, no, I want to go to Costa Rica. And he's, what? And I was like, yeah. And so my best friend was supposed to go with me at that time, but she ended up she got a job and she couldn't make it. And so I came down to Costa Rica for the first time. And literally, I was on the plane and I got bumped up to first class. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, they were like, what would you like to drink? I'm like, I'm going to have a mimosa. I'm going to celebrate that I'm going to Costa Rica by myself, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I'm like sitting there holding this mimosa. I'm like, but why am I celebrating with alcohol? Shouldn't I be celebrating that I'm on a flight to Costa Rica? That was my last drink. And so I think a lot of things changed for us as a
Hmm.
couple. I stopped doing Ironmans. I stopped drinking alcohol. And that was the two things that really bonded us.
Yeah.
And so then
Wow.
when I took my mask off, I started seeing things that I did not like.
Did not having the alcohol to numb things also help make things more clear?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I saw a lot of things that I wasn't liking about myself because
Mm.
I have a whole line of alcohol. My dad was an alcoholic, my grandfather, his dad, my great grandmother. So there was a huge line of alcoholism in my family. A year prior that I stopped, my brother stopped. And all of a sudden, like I sat there, this isn't serving me anymore. I don't like who
Yeah.
I'm becoming. And even
Yeah.
when I got back from Costa Rica, we were putting together we had a big event at her house and he was the lawyer he was a lawyer, but then he was also on a couple boards, right? So we had this holiday party, and at the holiday party I went to the liquor store, got a whole bunch of wine, got a whole bunch of and I remember going down the aisle and I was like, oh, I should get some whiskey and some vodka. I was like, oh, I should get some potato vodka. I heard that's better on the stomach. And
Yeah.
so I literally came back. I started putting everything away in the liquor cabinet, and I literally put the bottle of potato vodka in the cabinet. And over to my right, were my grandparents' canters where you put in the wine and you
Yeah.
put like
Yep.
silver canters that they gave to me for the wedding. And I swear, and I share the story a lot, I swear my grandma Fritching, so my dad's mom, was behind me. She goes, Jenny, why are you going from wine to liquor? And all of us, because I thought, oh, potato vodka, that's easier on the stomach. Maybe the wine isn't the best for me.
Yeah.
And I heard that, I heard it, and I looked around and I'm like, what just happened? And that was when I was like,
Oh,
all right, well, I've gone a week without drinking in Costa Rica. What about another week? What about another week? And so when the bartender asked us, hey, do you want a glass of wine? I said, no, I'm good. My ex looked at me like, are you okay? It's like, yeah, I just want to be aware of what's going on because it's the party at our house, right? And then and then I stopped. I got through 2020 without alcohol.
wow. Oh my God. That's a huge undertaking.
Right? Talk about a challenge, right? Yeah.
And I was going to say, and being locked down at that point in
Mhm.
time in that situation, did that bring things to light as
It
well?
did. So 2019, there was a spot when I did ask for us to go to therapy, and
Yeah.
then he declined it. He said, "No, I think we're good." I was like, "Okay, but I think there's some changes we need to make because this was after Florida and after
Yeah.
I stopped drinking, but then I still went back to drinking. And
Right.
at the end of November, I did I did say something to him, which was not supposed to be for him. It was supposed to be my bestie. I did that text message that I sent to him, but it was supposed to be to my bestie, and that stirred the pot. And we need to go to therapy. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, we do. And so we started going to therapy December of 2019. And then we continued that therapy, and then we had to find a new therapist for the Zoom aspects of things because we
Yeah.
didn't go. Actually, when the first therapist called me Jessica, I looked at him, I'm like, is Jessica your lover? Because I don't know who Jessica is. And we actually laughed about it and we walked out. I'm like, we need to find a new therapist. Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, okay. But yeah,
You're like,
we had therapy during those close calls during the 2020. Yeah, it was hard.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a lot. 2020 was a lot for sure. I think for
for
a lot
sure.
of couples, especially
Yeah,
having to be together all the
yeah,
time. And I am assuming like you had been traveling a lot. So this was a
yeah.
huge life change for you. And the shutdown was huge because there's no
Hmm.
travel now.
All right.
You've stopped training. You've stopped
Nobody
drinking. Like,
and and
what are you doing with yourself?
yeah, that's just it. And I lost a ton of my triathletes that I was coaching. I was up to almost 20 clients of triathlons. And then when 2020 it stopped the world because nobody was racing. So they're like, Jen, I can't keep you on. I lost a lot of clients at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, during that time, even pre 2020, I started working. I thought, you know what? There's a lot more women than there are triathletes. What about I start helping women who are transitioning and transforming to become postmenopause? We work on fitness, we work on the macros, we do all of that fun stuff. And I started my own little women's group in in February. And then all of a sudden 2020 happened and here we had 8 women already in this little group, and we would have group calls just because we're like, what's going on? And
Right.
it was crazy. And then so yeah, I started working with women on the outside post
Yeah.
triathlons, but I was still coaching triathletes, but they weren't coming around as much because nobody was racing. So I was like, all right, let's start working with women. And then
Yeah.
at around that time, I believe it was, oh, I don't remember when the publishing company came to me. They came to me maybe in 2021. No, 2020, because it was 2020. They came to me. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" They came to me prior to it and asked me to write a book on triathlons. And I was just so slammed with life. And that was in
Yeah.
2019 that I was like, I can't. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I have to turn it down. And I was like mad, but I had to turn it
Right.
down. And then they
Yeah.
came to me, I believe in April or May, and said, "What are you doing now?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm working with women." And they said, "Do you want to write a book about helping women?" I'm like, "Sure." So I did.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's called Self-Motivation Strategies for Women. But the ironic thing about this all is that I wrote that book during some of the hardest times of my life. So I feel like that book was more for me.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No better way to therapize yourself
Yeah,
than to write a book.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I do think that time period, if you talk to lots of women now, because this is the
Mm-hmm.
work you're doing, there was, I believe in astrology and human design and all these things. I think there was
Absolutely.
a shift for many of us
Hmm.
in 2019 going into 2020, and many. I went to my first women's retreat desperate, in a desperate situation. I was like in a fog. I arrived in Costa Rica on the Pacific coast. I wish I could tell you. What's the main
Nasara,
city?
Tamarindo.
No, nope. I'll think of it. Anyway, I arrived at a women's retreat. I had knew no one there. A friend said to me, "I think you need to go to one of these retreats. They're breakthrough retreats." The coach lives here in Orlando. She just hosts them there occasionally. And it was life-changing. I hired her to coach me after the retreat. That was in October, November of 2019.
Okay.
Definitely, that was when my awakening started. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. And by February, I had met with a divorce attorney for the first time just to
Okay.
talk about what does this look like? I
Right.
just need to collect information. I'm not ready. And then COVID happened. And when I talk with people, just really interested because so many, it seems like people were shifting in that time. COVID happened and it stalled everything, but it also forced us to face
Sure
a
did.
lot, right, about our life. And like for me, it was definitely a purging time.
Hmm.
Okay, there are a lot of things in my life that I didn't need that I thought I
Right.
needed, but now that I
Yep.
don't have them, it feels good to not
Yeah.
have them.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of that was happening for you. Were you and your ex-husband both at this point working from home?
We were correct.
Okay. We're together, like
Together.
together,
Yeah.
take out
Hmm.
alcohol for you.
For me, exactly. He was doing just fine. He had the alcohol, which is fine. And people are
Right.
like, "Oh, do you get weirded out when people drink around me?" I'm like, "No, not at all. That's their choice. Doesn't bother me." So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I was going to ask you like how you knew what to let go of first, but it sounds like things were just happening on their own.
they
So you
were.
didn't have to make a choice. The triathlon decision happened first. The alcohol decision happened on its own.
Hmm.
I talk to people a lot about trusting instead of forcing.
Yes.
So I learned through my situation and through a spiritual coach who was
Yeah.
helping me along the way that when I let go, took my hands off the wheel and just trust instead of trying to force things,
Hmm.
that they just happened. And
Agreed.
I didn't have to do anything. Everything just fell into place and just
Hmm.
happened, and the overthinking could go away, and then I had
Yes.
more spaciousness.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear about that and get us to the point of when you decided there was the point of no return with the
Right.
marriage. You don't have to go into
Sure.
great detail if you don't want to. But I do think so many of the women I work with are trying to decide. And I listened to a podcast when I was trying to decide. It was called Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Oh, wow.
And I would intently listen to that. A lot of her content is really divorce coaching, so
Hmm.
it's further in the process.
Okay.
But it wasn't until I stopped listening to that and started listening to myself
Yes.
that I was really able to. So I'm always telling people just keep paying attention, just stay present
Mm-hmm.
in your now. About the past and don't worry about the future. I know that's easier said than done.
Right.
So, how did that happen for you? How did you know when it was time to go? And then I want to know more about how you got to Costa Rica,
For
too.
sure. For sure. I think I don't know if there was one pinpoint moment like I'm done type of thing, but like what I said to
Mhm.
you, I knew there was something more for me. I had the beautiful house, I had the Jeep Wrangler, I had all the clothes you can imagine. We had that life. We had that life. I was married to a lawyer and we had that life. And I'm like, but why am I not fulfilled? Why am I not happy? I was chasing finish lines left and right and I was crossing them. But then, like, why am I still chasing? Why was I still chasing? So I think the biggest thing for me, I think you're right. When I started, it was in 2020, I ended up jumping on this women's group as well because a coach needs a coach, right? But I jumped on this women's group who was more of the spiritual side. And I was with them for 5 to 6 months and really learning about breath work, really learning about forgiveness, forgiving my dad, forgiving my mom. My dad's passed. My dad's passed, oh my gosh, almost 17 years. Yeah, he's been, yeah. So mom's still around, but realizing that they were kids when yeah, they hired me. They were kids when they had me. And so I started this healing process in 2020 during all of this time. And so I was with a spiritual group and I started seeing things. I would journal more. I started putting boundaries up, not sharing everything to everybody, just really protecting my peace because I had to have that clear mind of what was actually happening.
Right.
Also in 2020, we lost our pup. Our dog was
Mhm.
12 years old and he was getting sick and so we had to put him down. So we don't have kids, but we had the dog. And so here three things that happened like that bonded us and all of a sudden all
Yeah.
three are gone. So I was definitely going through my spiritual journey. I was doing the meditations. I was listening to Gabby Bernstein. I was listening to
Yay.
all of these people that were really, I was trying to figure out how to meditate. I was trying to figure out all these things. I was trying to learn how to do breath work. I was journaling. I was learning how to stay silent. I was on the Calm app. I was on the Headspace app. I was on all these apps. I was on YouTube. And I remember watching a Wayne Dryer. I always say his last name wrong, but it was called The Shift. And if you could find it on YouTube, I highly recommend it. But the shift, he talks about the shift of men and women. And that shift is when you go from I think like the wife to now I'm here to take care of myself. I did
Hmm.
everything I needed to do. So a lot of
Yep.
the women that I work with are going through that shift and they don't really know how to shift because they're scared of that normal what they do. So there was
Right.
a lot of things. There was a lot of things that I forgot about that side of of 2020. And then
Yeah.
I have to admit, then the spiritual group got a little weird. Like it was getting a little bit political. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, no, red pill, blue pill, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. And she,
Yeah.
like, it was not good. Even saying goodbye was not good. I'm like, okay, thank you for just validating my decision, but I'm doing pretty good
Right.
here. So then I came down to Costa Rica again in 2020, at the end of 2020. And because I had a girlfriend that I met online, I was supposed to do her women's retreat in April of 2020. We started talking more. She was going through some changes herself, divorce, like separation. She had two kids, and we just bonded immediately. And I love your vibe. We're going to Costa Rica. There's a group of us, group of girls. Do you want to come down with us? I'm like, yes. And so I had to say to my ex, I said, I want to go to Costa Rica again and go down and be with these girls and talk about the business side of things. And so I'm like, do you want to come down with me afterwards? And we can explore Costa Rica together and do that as our holiday gift, as a holiday gift. And he's, no, I got to work. I'm like, okay. And so then I came back from Costa Rica and I felt a shift in myself. I was like,
Mm.
I'm running away from the marriage. I keep traveling. And now having the clear space, clear head for what I was doing in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, meditation and breath work has a way of bringing so much clarity. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize how I was protecting myself or what I
right.
was doing.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you you've said that you stopped performing a life and you started living one. You gotten to that part of your
I don't
story
I don't
yet?
think so. I know I'm like, this is a long story. But I will say this. The publishing company asked me again to write another book. And I brought that up to my ex. I will be very transparent. Writing that book for the publishing company was extremely stressful on our relationship.
The first one or the second
The
one?
first one, the
Okay.
self-motivation strategies for women. It was very stressful on our relationship. Very stressful. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning writing. I was excited because that's where my flow is in the morning. And
Yeah.
um, and so when the publishing company asked if I wanted to write another book, I was like, yeah. And he said, and we got in some pretty heavy discussions and arguments about just what we were going through. And he
Yeah.
suggested that we do a trial separation, and I agreed.
Wow.
And he goes, if you're going to write book number two, maybe you do a trial separation and you concentrate on that. Ironically, the publisher did not take me on to write that book. They said I was too aggressive in my workouts. Yeah. They're like, this is more for a beginner. I was like, then I'm not your girl. I'm not writing a book for beginners. I'm like, no, get off your butt
Yeah.
and do something. Yeah. But anyway, so we did a trial separation. And when he said that, I immediately went online and found an Airbnb and said, all right, I'm leaving. And I don't think he really thought I was going to do that.
Yeah.
So that was January of 2021. During the
Okay.
separation, I during the separation, I said, I want to go to Costa Rica. I want to go down there for 7 weeks. And I did. And I said, why do I need to stay in San Antonio? That is not enjoyable. I'm like, and oh, also during that time, my book was coming out. So then I was like, what a great way for me to promote it and plug it down in Costa Rica. Right. And did that. And then I came back. He went and took a 7 week trip as well. And then I was in, and then I moved out, and I didn't move out. I found some Airbnbs. I still had a whole bunch of stuff. I was invited to go down to Costa Rica again in June for a retreat. And the gentleman said, he goes, Jen, I've been following you for a while. I love your vibe. He goes, I need bodies for this retreat. And can you come down? I'll provide the hotel. I'll provide the whole retreat for you. Can you fly down here? The flights at
Wow.
that time were cheap, like under $500 round trip from San Antonio. Not even close right now. But yeah, I went down there, and during that time, during that retreat, and the crazy thing, the yoga was all in Spanish,
Ah,
which was
wow.
cool, but taught me to really sit with myself. And I knew after talking to some of the people there, and some of them spoke really good Spanish or English, I realized I was like, I need to ask for a divorce. So then
Wow.
there was one morning I was sitting on the couch and I just was like staring at my coffee and he sat down. He's, "What's up?" And I said it out loud. I said, "I want a divorce." And then probably about 3, 4 months of him trying to convince me not to have a divorce, I filed the papers in September.
Wow.
Yeah. And
September
the crazy thing,
2021.
yeah. And the crazy thing is that he was like, "All right, if we're going to go through this, here are 3 lawyers." And I reached out to a client of mine in that women's group who was also a lawyer. I'm like, "Marina,"
Yeah.
I'm like, "what lawyers do I grab?" I go, "Here are the 3 lawyers that he found for us." She goes, "100% Joe Chris. 100%. And so my lawyer, I call her M from what's that? Not Mission Impossible, James Bond, because she looks like
Okay.
Judi
Yeah.
Dench. She looked like Judi Dench.
Oh, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I was like, "You're my M. You're my M. You know that, Joe Chris?" And yeah. And so then I filed the papers in September of 2021. And then I was like, I want to move to Costa Rica. I was like, I'm moving to Costa Rica. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know when. I don't know where I'm even staying. And so and during this whole time, right, during 2019, all the way through, I was following a whole bunch of people on Instagram. I was following people on Facebook groups. And I saw this woman from Canada who lived in Costa Rica. She's, "Oh, I have this place available." And I reached out to her and I said, "Oh, I saw that you have this available place. Do you have any availability in December?" She's, "No, I'm totally booked." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." I'm like, "Just keep me, if somebody cancels, just keep me open." And so I was like, I can move to Costa Rica. And literally a week later, she messages me. She goes, "Jen, the people canceled. I have availability starting on January 15th. Do you want it?" I said, "Yes." I didn't question it. I just went with it. And I was
Yeah.
at the nail place with my girlfriends. I go, "Ladies, I just found a place to live for 3 months in Costa Rica." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." I contacted the hotel that I stayed at during my separation. He and I became friends. I was like, and we
Yeah.
bonded because of Ironmans. He's, "Wait,
Yeah.
you did Ironman Hawaii? Oh my God." And so
Yep.
I text him. I go, "Jay, I'm moving down to Costa Rica." I go, "Do you have space from December 30th to January 15th?" He goes, "Yep, come on down. I got your room." The rest was history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you've been there
I've
since.
been there since. And the crazy thing is like I had to go back for the mediation. I had to go back for the mediation at the end of
Mhm.
January in San Antonio. I had to go back at that point. I had to go back every 3 months for a border run. And so then at that time I was just not going through the motions. I wouldn't say that, but like
Yeah.
I had a plan of attack and my family, oh, my family did not understand me moving to Costa Rica. Not at all.
I bet. I
And
bet.
I said to them, because my mom's in Florida, my brother's in Michigan, and I said to them, I go, "I'm either going to go to Hawaii, California, or Costa Rica. I'm closer to y'all living in Costa Rica than I would be in Florida or Hawaii." Yeah. So I think for me
So,
was, oh, sorry, I think for me was when I actually spoke the words, "I want a divorce."
yeah. Yeah. It's a really hard
Ooh,
thing
it's
to
so
say.
hard.
Yeah. It's really hard. And there's no way to really prepare yourself.
No.
Um, Even when I think both people know it's for the best and they know it's coming, that
Yeah,
if you're the one who has to say it, there's always going to be a feeling in the other person that you've blindsided them somehow. And
absolutely.
it's such a strange feeling to speak the words out loud to that person,
Mm,
even no matter how much you know inside that you want it,
right. Yeah.
saying it, there's like finality in
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
that is, it's hard to
It,
describe, I think.
it is. It is.
Um, so I would like to know at this point in your story, you're coming back to what used to be your reality from Costa
Hmm.
Rica, and you're
Yes,
probably living, I'm picturing, because I've been to Costa Rica, it's just a very Zen magical
it
place,
is.
right? The energy there is really good. I think
Incredible.
Sedona, and there are a handful of
Yep.
places,
Hmm.
Sedona, Costa Rica. These are places where it really isn't like living in the real world, I'm guessing. Maybe living there it is, but visiting, it's certainly you can just really check out. So you're
Yeah.
getting coming back from mediation and getting a taste of your old life and then going back to Costa Rica and probably realizing, wow, wow. I guess for people listening,
Yeah, of
like,
course.
because now you continue to work with women who are going through these
I do.
transformational, like, what are the small, almost invisible ways that high achieving women perform their lives without realizing? Because I'm guessing at this point, you're no longer performing now, or even
Correct.
once you got to Costa Rica,
Hmm.
and you're starting to have a realization of how much you were performing before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking on based on yourself, but also in the women that you work with,
Hmm.
because this is such a relatable thing, I think, for most people, definitely relatable for me as a therapist, coach, entrepreneur who's trying to figure out how to promote my business
Yeah. I
authentically,
get it.
but also keep up with the algorithms. It's
I
such a
know.
strange world we live in.
It is.
I'm literally telling people that as soon as you live authentically, you're going to be free and you're going to
Yeah.
have this great life. And simultaneously, as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, I am trying desperately to figure out how to do that and work with an algorithm to promote
I
my
know.
business so people can find me.
I know.
It's
And
such an innocent thing. I just want people to be able to find me.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
in order to do that, how the hell do we how do we do it?
How do we
And what do
do it?
you
Yeah.
see people doing right and wrong in this?
Good question.
Because you had a successful online space before
Correct.
when you were performing for that,
Correct.
and you still do. What's the difference?
I will be very transparent. I have been struggling over the last probably 5 months. I say 5 months because a lot of women, they don't want to they want to lose weight, they want to get fit, they don't want to do the inner work. And a lot of women are scared to do the inner work because they don't want to know what is really going on. Like
Yep.
why are they performing all the time? Like, why am I a high level entrepreneur or business owner or CEO? And maybe, and I'm sure you know about this, but the whole feminine masculine thing, there's a lot of women who are very strong in that masculine. They're the
Mhm.
provider, they're the financial provider. They're the ones that have the homes. They're the boss babe. They could do all that stuff, but they have terrible relationships because
Yeah.
they have maybe a man who is, okay, I have a mom. This is great. He's not a man. And so a lot of women, we've been taught, and bear with me because a lot, I might get pushback on this, but as women, we were taught, I don't need a man to save me. I don't need a man to help me. So I'll just do it
Mhm.
all myself.
Yep.
But then how's those relationships doing? Because that's exactly what I got. I started doing that as well in my marriage. I got it. I got
Yeah.
it. I can do this. Where
Yep.
he was trying to provide financially, 100% he was. Absolutely. But I had that performance mentality. No, I can do it. I can help. I can provide. And I didn't let him be who he was meant to be because I had
Yeah.
that. oh, I can do it. I don't need a man to help me. I got it. That whole attitude.
Mm. Yeah,
And so when I started learning about the whole that, I was like, oh my God, I learned that from my mom. I love my mom to death, but she's, oh, I don't need a man to change the light bulb. I'm like, but, and now I'm in a very healthy relationship. It's been over 2 years. I got a man. I'm like, baby, you could change my light bulb anytime. Oh, like,
please change.
please change it, please. But,
We learned
anyways,
it from, but we also learned it from watching our parents in these unhealthy dynamics, or I
absolutely.
don't know what your situation was, but my dad left. He
Yeah,
left mom to do everything. I'm sure she would have been happy to have let him do everything, but
sure.
he left her.
Yeah,
So I learned don't rely on a man because they're not reliable. And that's when I was 8 years old, putting on my masculine mask, right? I don't need
absolutely.
men. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. Inside, secretly, desperately wanting it, but then seeking out a different type of relationship
Yeah,
with the underlying energy of, I don't really need you. That's what I
mhm,
got married
yeah,
in
yeah,
with this. And the same thing, like my ex-husband was trying and providing for us and then some.
yeah,
And yet there was a part of me that didn't want to give him credit for that.
yep,
He didn't do anything else other than provide, as far as, I shouldn't say anything else. He didn't do a lot of the things that I needed him to do
yep,
other than provide. That was his
yep.
thing.
That's
And that was his
yep,
upbringing. This is your job. And if you're doing this,
yep.
you're doing everything you're meant to do. I couldn't hold space for that because I had so much masculine energy
Oh my God,
that
like
I
you're
couldn't.
like those words, I couldn't have said it better. You nailed it. I was the same way. But I wanted to it's interesting because I am writing a memoir and I'm going back to notes that I wrote during my separation and the divorce. And I'm like, I want to be seen. I want to be touched. I want to be heard. I want to be like I want to sit on the couch on a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee and just play some music and just talk about dreams and goals and ideas and I I don't need more money. I don't need more shit.
Right.
Sorry. I
Right.
forgot to ask
No,
if you don't allow swearing. But
no,
um
you can definitely swear.
okay.
But no, I was the
I
same
don't yeah.
way. It was the same. Like I had the bags, I had the big house, I had the Mercedes, the doctor husband.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God,
it's
right?
so funny that you said that about the touching and the cuddling. I and we, my ex-husband and I, had just decided like physical touch was not one of my love languages and that it was gifts and acts of service, right?
Hmm.
But he wasn't really around. Really, what my love languages are is physical touch, like
Hmm.
cuddling. And there's a story my aunt told the first time she met my now boyfriend. She was like, oh my God, when she was a baby, she had to be on your chest. It was the only place she could sleep. She would just sleep in a ball on your chest. And I was number four, so nobody had time to do that. And she was like, so I would come and I would just have to hold her. Otherwise, she couldn't be happy. And that was like an awakening moment for me. I was like, because at that point we had been together for a while and I had realized that I loved laying on his chest. And that when I did, my whole body would
Yeah.
just relax. We would say he's my Xanax because something about
Get
our
it?
connection would just relax me. And so we're sitting at dinner and he just looked at me and I thought, oh, I want to talk to my mom about that. Maybe physical touch was something
Mhm,
that I always needed.
mhm.
And so I was so out of touch with myself
Yes.
in my marriage that I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want, I would almost pull away by the time we got into the second half of the marriage. And
Mhm.
then meet this person once I've done all this inner work. And this is the important
Yes.
piece, I think, for people to hear. I did from 2019, and even before that, it had started,
Hmm.
to 2023, an immense amount of work on myself,
Yep. I'm with
deep
you. Same.
inner work.
Same.
I went from being someone who had never heard the phrase inner child
Yep.
to
Okay.
like
Yep.
now doing parts work and talking to my parts and like
Yeah.
understanding that my parts are those inner children. So, yes, the thing I think that you're pointing out and that you're bringing up is this really important dialogue about putting on these masculine masks as women
Hmm.
and not understanding them and thinking, and I don't want to touch on the feminism movement or
Right.
anything like that
Right.
because I think
Correct.
that's completely separate. This
Absolutely.
is being in a point where you know yourself and you've done enough inner deep work to start to see what your love languages actually are
Hmm.
and what actually lights you up and not
Hmm.
performing it, but living it. And
Yeah.
once you do that, I think what you're saying, what I'm saying is when we're really in our feminine and we've let go of the masculine energy that we no longer need, especially within a relationship, we just, it's very natural.
Very natural.
Everything
I agree.
feels easy and natural. And yeah, talk more about
Yeah.
that, but also talk about what in the women that you work with and the resistance to that. Why are we so resistant to stepping into who we really are?
I think the resistance comes from not trusting
Hmm.
ourselves and not trusting change. A lot of people are scared to change. I think about the women that came to my retreat, and I had one girl who is really struggling with a relationship she's in, and she is strong physically, emotionally, she's strong. She's a boss babe. She's got a great job. I got her strong in the gym. We got the macros. We tightened up the body. All that's everything. But she's
Hmm.
having a really hard time saying goodbye to her relationship. And I think it's those, like we talked about, those childhood wounds and that inner child. And so I'm trying to find what is triggering her on why she can't leave the relationship. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
an example. And so I think a lot of women are just scared of change and they're so used to doing things for everybody else. Like, why would they take care of themselves? Because how they see it and what society has said is that it's selfish.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Did I
when we
answer
start
your
taking care
question?
of ourselves, yes, we do risk when we start taking care of ourselves what happened to you and what happened to
Yeah.
me, which is we risk that maybe our life isn't exactly what we want it to be, and
Yeah.
maybe we are going to get strong enough to leave that relationship.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that what I see in people who can't leave many times is a trauma bond, one way or
Absolutely.
another,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And what I found was I was terrified of being lonely. And it's
Hmm.
funny, the fear of potential loneliness, the fear of what it would feel like to know that my husband at the time was with someone else. It was the fear of all of those things
Hmm.
that was holding me back. And in reality, I kind of like being alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I, since the divorce has been final, like my ex-husband is getting married in June. and I'm
Wow.
happy for him.
Absolutely.
And they've been together since just before the divorce was final. And she's wonderful and um, great with my kids. And there was a jolt when I found
Hmm.
out he was with someone else. There was
Sure.
definitely a jolt. And there was a period of time where, because we were at the kind of the finish line of the divorce, I did have a bit of a trauma bond and it did kick in. And it was
Mm,
like, oh shit. But it was a couple weeks of discomfort. But once I worked through it and I understood what was happening and why, the relief on the other side of that healing process was
hmm.
tremendous and opened the door for me to meet someone who's who I can fully give myself to
Yeah.
and love and I feel adored and all
Right.
those things I always wanted.
Yeah.
I was much lonelier in the marriage
100%.
than I was when the marriage ended. And
Absolutely.
so I think we have all of these fears, and maybe it's not marriage, maybe it's your work. People
Right.
are miserable at work, but they're afraid of what it looks like on the other
Hmm.
side. A toxic work environment is horrible. Maybe it's a friend group or a friend
Friend. Yeah.
who isn't serving us anymore, but we're
Yeah.
afraid to walk away. Those are the things I see all the time. It does take that deep inner work because the only way I think, you can chime in on this, what you're saying is we have to trust ourselves, which you and I
Hmm.
know, and we went through the process of figuring that out.
Hmm.
And there was even a point for me where I said to a very good friend, I trust myself now. I need you to trust me. She
Yeah.
couldn't. I don't trust you. I've watched you go through this. I've watched you stay in this marriage for 15 years. I don't trust you. It's not exactly verbatim what she said, but it's what she
Right.
said. I was like, I need people in my life who trust me because I now trust myself. The only path to getting to that point and being able to say that is the deep inner work, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As
Because
long
when
as
I
our
work,
inner children are running the show, we're
right.
not going to trust ourselves. If an 8-year-old is at the wheel,
Yeah.
we're not going to trust. 50-year-old
Absolutely.
Leslie is not going to trust
No. No.
that child to
No.
drive.
Correct.
Um, so when you're working with people, you're a transformational coach. You
Hmm.
get them in the beginning. What does that look like for someone? For somebody who's listening, who's, yeah, I'm not really happy at all on paper. Why am I so unhappy? Like, how does that person start?
Yeah. I So I have four pillars, and those pillars are the bread and butter that kept me afloat with my divorce and separation. And it's movement, metabolism, mindset, and meaning. So first
Mm,
and foremost, I will get you in the gym. I will get you moving. I will get you strength training, whatever that might be. I'm not going to be like, all right, go do a max weight, go do some CrossFit, whatever. But we do it
yeah,
gradually, right? And so what I've
yeah,
realized is that the thing that kept me strong mentally, emotionally, was keeping my body physically strong. So I will
yes.
get them in the gym. So that's the biggest component is the movement. Then the second thing that I focus on is the metabolism. And when I talk about metabolism, I'm not just talking about counting your macros. We're
Hmm.
looking at your micronutrients, so your vitamin D, your what supplements are you
Yeah.
taking, that type of thing. But we're also talking about your cortisol. Where is the stress coming from? Is it coming from the relationship? Is it coming from work? I see a lot of women who have built their body in the gym looking amazing, but they're still holding a little bit, maybe upper body weight or a little bit fat because they're holding that stress. They're holding the cortisol. And so we have to look at, okay, where's the stress coming from? Is it your job? Is it a relationship? Is it parents that are declining we're looking at all of that. And so I'm a
Yeah.
big advocate of really the macros, the micros, nutrients, but then really looking at what's causing the stress, what's causing that cortisol. How can we reset your nervous system? And then the other thing that I do is mindset. So mindset
Mhm.
plays a big role when it comes to learning about yourself. So this is where we do meditations. I'm not going to ask you to do 2 hour meditations, but we're going to start off small, right? We're going to do that. I'm going to ask you to journal. I'm going to ask you to maybe take some breath work to classes. Or, oh, here's a YouTube channel. Check this out. Start listening to this. And I always talk about like how I started my own meditations as well because people are like, I
Yeah.
don't have 2 hours to do it. I'm like, I don't want you to do 2 hours. How about 5 minutes?
Start with the Calm app. It's so
Exactly.
good,
It's
and I
so
love
good.
the daily Calm is has been in my life since 2019 as
Has it
well, and I
really?
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I love it. I think some of them are repeated year after year because I
for sure.
recognize it, but I love it. It's yeah, I
Yeah.
lay with my red light mask on under my red light with my
Nice.
daily Calm,
I love
like,
it.
about 5 days a week, but if I
Good
don't
for
get it in the
you.
morning, I listen in my car. Yeah, it's
That's
life-changing, and
amazing.
it's a really small thing,
It is.
but it has a
Yeah.
tremendous impact.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then we work on the mindset. And then the last but not least is the meaning. It's the really finding your why. Finding why are you staying in this relationship? Why are you staying in a toxic job? Why are you holding on to a friend that no longer serves you? Like really digging deep. And I'm a big advocate of the TEDx talk by Simon Sinek, finding your
Mm,
why. And it's more about the business side of it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's his, and
yeah,
he built a brand around this, right? But I think
right,
really finding the deepness of how to say goodbye to a life that maybe no longer serves you, or maybe a friend that no longer serves you. Like I recently said goodbye I wouldn't say we said goodbye. I think it was just a drop off. We stopped
right.
communicating, right? And then she unfollows me on Facebook and I unfollow her on Instagram. It's okay, we're done. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
realized the energy that she was providing was not for me. And I was
yeah,
like, I don't need dry friendships. I need real
right.
ones.
Yep. Yeah, I think we don't often take into consideration how much someone else's energy can also be holding us back.
Oh,
When I got about a year into this podcast, I was driving somewhere close to where an old friend who's not in my life anymore lives. And all of a sudden it hit me, wow, I don't think I would be doing my podcast if that person was still in my life because they would think it's stupid, right? Like, and I
right?
thought, oh, this is something that's bringing me tremendous joy, right?
Hmm.
Tremendous joy. And I feel so good about it and just absolutely love doing it. And this one person and her energy would have likely kept me from doing it. I thought,
Hmm.
wow, good for me. I'm glad because we do grieve
Yeah.
those people that aren't with in our life anymore. And I do like tremendously. And I wish it were different.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and that's what we're talking about here, being honest with ourselves
Yeah.
about everything we're consuming mentally and physically and how we're taking care of our body and respecting and honoring it, taking care of our mindset also by consumption of content and
Yes.
people, who we're letting in, what we're letting in. All of those things are so important. We cannot transform if one of those things is off.
Correct.
And yet, we live in a world where information and people and things are so accessible. And some days I think it feels like for many of us, so many people want a piece of it.
Yeah.
They want a piece of you in order to thrive. We have to set the right boundaries
Hmm.
and know when to let people go. And we are not
Yeah.
taught at all to let people go
No, not at
at all.
all. Not at all.
Nobody teaches us
No,
about that.
no. And I think
And
too, I think, and it could be not just people, but it could be like we talked about a business
yes,
or even if you have a business and if the business is not running and it's like, all right, do we need to let that go? It's like learning how the ego is like trying to hold on to it, right? But then
yeah,
if it's just not serving us, if we're not building it the way we want to build it, maybe we need to rebrand it or relook at it, whatever that might be. And the cool thing is I was talking to my book cover designer and I told her, I said, I really need your help. I would love to have a little logo on my website for my name. And Rulon is actually my maiden name or my married name because my maiden
okay.
name is Fritching. Like I'm not going back to Jen Fritching. Yeah. So I was like, people won't be able
Right,
to spell that, right? But I was like, it's Jen Rulon. I'm like, Tina Turner got Tina Turner, like she got Turner after her and Ike divorced. So I'm like,
right,
and I did
right. You
ask,
get to keep it. Yeah.
yep, I did ask him, I go, can I keep the name? And he's, yes, of course. But anyways, on my website, I was talking to her. I was like, yeah, I just want that. I want that logo. And I said to her, I go, I want that to be my last logo. She goes, whoa.
Mm,
I said, yeah. I go, because I know who I finally am.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that says so much. It really does. Um,
And I think it's hard for, like we talked about, like for women who are really wanting to make a shift in themselves, find a coach,
yeah.
find the support
Yep.
around you. Find the women that are going to support you, lift you up, not bring you down, not squish you, not.
Yep.
And once I started realizing women that were squishing me, I let them go.
It's really hard.
It's hard.
It's really, really hard. I think that, yeah, you have to find the people who match your energy.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's not easy. Women
No.
are tough. If you find the right ones, it's so wonderful, but there's so much pressure on all of us
Yeah.
that I find even the people who I just absolutely adore, if something good happens to you and you tell them, you can almost see them deflate because they're trying to do similar things. Or
Hmm.
you mentioned Gabby Bernstein earlier.
Yeah.
When I was really early in my entrepreneurial journey and I had just gone back to school to get my clinical social work, I already knew I already had a vision for what I wanted to create. And it didn't include the divorce and breakup pieces yet because I
Sure.
didn't have my degree. But somebody sent me something about Gabby Bernstein and sent me one of her books. And I looked at it and I read about her and I was like, something about her turns me off. And then maybe a month passed by and of course then she was in my feed, right? She kept
Of
coming up in
course.
my
Right.
algorithm and I was like, she's doing everything I want to do. What is it about her that's rubbing me the wrong way? Maybe it's not her. Maybe it's me. And so I did a deep dive. I did some journaling. I
Hmm.
meditated about it. And I thought, oh, it's not Gabby Bernstein that I don't like. It's the fact that she's already doing everything I wish I was doing.
Gotcha.
And so it was a shift. And now, of course, I love her and I adore her.
Hmm.
And it was just that. But it was
Hmm.
like, most people don't have that awareness
Right.
to say, huh. So now I make a habit out of it. If something rubs me the wrong way or someone, I immediately turn it around and get curious about myself. What is it
Yep.
that they're doing
Yeah.
that's not? Is it you want to be them
Yeah.
when you grow up and they're
Yeah.
already doing it?
Yeah.
Or And I think the problem is that there are so many women, especially in the coaching and the therapy world, who are trying to figure this out and have
Hmm.
navigated it. And so you've got to find the ones who have the awareness to say, I don't know, to lift each other up
Correct.
instead of feeling like you're competing with one another, because there's definitely enough space for everybody,
Absolutely.
but that's not
Yeah.
exactly how everyone feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to shift a little bit because we're going to need to wrap up, and
Of
I
course.
want to talk about like how someone would find you to work with you.
Of course.
And I wanted to ask if you're doing retreats now, or is that ongoing? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah.
And then I want to make sure we mention how to get the book. It's coming out later this fall, I
It
believe.
is.
Okay.
I
So
like
that's
it's
three
yeah.
things.
Three things. Okay. How
Yeah.
to find me. You could go to Jen Rulon, JenRulon.com. That's my website. The new logo's not up yet, so just FYI. And
Okay.
then I went to Canva and made something because I was like, this is good for now. It's a
Right. It's fine.
placeholder, right? But
Yes.
yes, JenRulon.com. You could go to, I'm very active on Instagram, very active on TikTok, and I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Threads, and I'm actually on
Um,
Substack too. I've been
Oh, great.
really enjoying Substack, and I've been
Yeah.
writing and really I'll be sitting in the hammock with my cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I'll just start writing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's a Substack. That doesn't need to be a
Yeah.
blog. That's
Yeah,
Substack.
I love
So
it too. I've been doing the
yeah,
same. When I'm in my car, I always have my inspiration. So I just make a voice note on my
same.
phone,
Yep.
and then I let Grammarly or Claude or whatever like
Yep.
clean it up for me and then
Absolutely.
post away. And it's like,
Yep.
oh, this is great.
Yep. And
It's almost like a mental feed.
it
Whatever is
is.
coming up, I just blah 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 and then
I do the
put
same
it in
thing. I
Substack.
love it. I love it. Yeah. And so
Yeah, it's
then,
great.
so that's where you could get a hold of me. Like I said, I'm very active on
Okay.
Instagram and TikTok. Those are the two
Okay.
major platforms. And
And are
then,
you working with people individually? You're taking individual coaching clients right
yeah,
now?
yes. So I
Okay.
currently work one-on-one. I've tried to do group coaching. But I really feel like everybody is so individual that it's really hard
Mhm.
to just say, "Hey, here's all your workouts." But everybody's
Yeah,
so different. Everybody's at such
yeah,
different levels. So I'm a big at I do a lot of the one-on-one coaching for sure,
yeah,
and
that
it's the
makes
high
sense,
ticketed
makes sense.
pricing, but not crazy high, but it is. But I'm talking to
Yeah,
you once a week, one to two times a week. We're digging deep.
right,
I would say these Zoom calls that I have with my ladies, first 10, 15 minutes is about fitness, your nutrition. Where are we at? What's going on? How are your macros? What's your water intake? And then we dive deep. Then we
yeah,
dive deep. And some people are like, I'm not ready to dive deep this week. And I'm like, That's the perfect time to jump in, that type of
right.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the resistance.
the
Yeah,
resistance. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and I have PDFs out there. I have little free things like you go on my website and you could go and sign up for my newsletter and stuff like that. You'll get a
yeah,
PDF, but yeah, the one-on-one coaching is where I really am. And then I will be doing my second retreat. So it's called Rise with the Tides. It's December 6th through the 12th of 2026, and you're going to
okay.
be in the town of Samara, Costa Rica, and I've already got a couple ladies signed up. So
Yay.
I'm taking 10. That might be a little too much, but I did six last time. So I don't know, six to 10 might be a little too much, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, why not? That's
yeah,
great.
and the focus on my Rise with the Tide retreat is we're not doing ayahuasca, we're not doing plant medicine base or anything, but I'm taking you to the gym. We're working out every single day. We're going for a walk. We're doing yoga. If you want to do activity outside of the norm, there's horseback riding,
Yeah,
there's surfing, there's
right.
shopping, like all of that fun stuff. I give a free day. We have all the food provided, which is amazing. And then the cool thing is that I will also be adding a one-on-one with me during the retreat. Last year I didn't
Oh,
do
cool.
that. And so I'm actually going to take an hour for everybody and we're going to get that one-on-one and be like, all right, here we are, December
Wonderful.
2026. What is 2027 going to look like? But
Yeah,
then
that's great.
the cool thing about the retreat last year was like we pulled out some oracle cards, and man, I those like one of my girlfriends, one of the girls was like, these oracle cards are scary, and I'm like, yeah, but they speak the truth. It's
Yeah.
fun doing
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
really fun. That's
yeah,
great. That's great.
yeah.
And then the book, you're
The book,
still wrapping that up,
still
but
wrapping that
it'll be
up.
out in November, 11/11.
Yeah, it's a personal
Yay.
year for me, and I'm a big number of a 11/11. The very first date my boyfriend and I went on, we were out surfing, of course, right? And I went out to the big waves with them just to watch, just to observe and how they take off and all that stuff. And because I'm 2 years into surfing, so fairly new.
Yeah.
And he's, how long have we been out here? And I looked at my watch, it was 1:11:11. And I'm like,
Ah,
and I'm a big number person. And like,
yeah, me too. That's great.
I knew that I needed to come out with the memoir on 11/11/2026.
I love that. I love that. Jen, it has been wonderful
Thank you,
talking to
Leslie.
you and hearing your story. It's really inspiring. I hope that the right people are going to hear it.
I agree.
Um, because I think, yeah, life can look really amazing on paper and we can still be living unhappily. And I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I should be happy with this, so I'm going to stay in this situation.
Yep.
But you and I are proof that it's okay. It's
Yep.
okay to kind of turn everything upside down for a
Yeah.
while and see how it all shakes out and start trusting that things will work out the way
Yeah.
that they're supposed to. So
There,
your story is very inspiring.
thank you. The one thing I will say, whatever change that you're going through, there is life after it. I promise you.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing for people to remember because when you're in the thick of it, it feels like everything is ending. But as everything ends and winds down, the new beginnings are
Oh,
really, really exciting and
they're
wonderful.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie.
Every way that people can find you will be listed in the show notes,
Great.
also on Instagram when we're promoting this. And yeah, so YouTube, Spotify, Apple
Love
Podcast,
it.
Amazon, all the
All
places.
the places. I love
So
it.
yeah,
Very good.
yeah, so
Thank you,
much,
Leslie.
Jen, and everyone listening. Until next time. Yay.
Ciao.